Hello, this is Donna, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the weekend edition of the Post Standard on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. On the crime and safety columns, rangers rescue kayakers stranded in rapids on the Saranac River. Steve Featherstone. Two kayakers from Redford, a 15-year-old and a 43-year-old, got stranded just above the permanent rapids on the Saranac River in Franklin County on the afternoon of July 3rd. The pair started their journey from the Moose Pond Bridge, but were unaware that the river had rapids. The kayakers bailed out before entering the Class 2 plus whitewater. The state DEC forest rangers swam across the river to provide life vests to the paddlers. Meanwhile, other rangers brought an inflatable kayak across and ferried the stranded paddlers to shore. Rangers also retrieved the kayaks, and Saranac Lake EMS evaluated them. A hiker suffers cramps. A 19-year-old hiker from New Jersey experienced severe cramps on the afternoon of July 3rd while climbing Marble Mountain in the Wilmington Wild Forest. A ranger provided electrolytes and snacks to the ailing hiker before 7 more rangers arrived to assist the hiker back to the trailhead. A 38-year-old from Kentucky got stranded on a rock after falling into the rapids at the base of Auger Falls in the Siamese Pond Wilderness Area in Hamilton County on July 3rd. 8 rangers set up a technical rope rescue and successfully assisted the hiker back to the trail. Also on July 3rd, 2 rangers and a St. Lawrence County Sheriff's deputy took into custody a camper at the Walter Pratt Memorial Forest. The camper had an active warrant for petty larceny charges in Ogdensburg. Rangers advised the remaining occupant at the campsite to remove their belongings because their permits had expired. A 51-year-old camper at a primitive site in Newcomb Lake in Essex County cut their hand in the morning of July 3rd, and 2 rangers inspected the wound and took the camper to the trailhead and turned them over to Newcomb Emergency Medical Services. A sailing dinghy lost its rudder and capsized in the wind near Four Brothers Island on Lake Champlain on July 3rd. A very busy day for DEC. 4 rangers on the boat patrol saw the dinghy on its side and managed to upright it and hold it stable while the boat's operator repaired the rudder. A 70-year-old hiker got lost after wandering half a mile off the trail in the Fulton Chain Wild Forest in Herkimer County on the 3rd. An assistant forest ranger found them wet and tired and escorted them out of the woods. The exit route at Cherrytown Road Trailhead in Sundown Wild Forest in Sullivan County was blocked on the 4th by fallen trees following a windstorm, trapping multiple vehicles. 2 rangers cleared the trees and debris by noon. A 56-year-old kayaker from Pine Island went missing on Mognop Pond on July 4th. His empty kayak was found near shore. The Sullivan County dive team searched the water while rangers searched the shore late into the night, and more rangers joined the search the next morning along with rescue personnel. At 11:28 a.m. on the 5th, the divers found the kayaker's body in the middle of the pond. A teenager with autism ran away from their Belfast, Allegheny County home on the 5th. 4 rangers joined the state police, 20 members of the Belfast and Wellsville fire departments, and the Allegheny County search team. Search crews found the teen's shirt in a ravine, and shortly thereafter the ranger located the teen in the ravine approximately half a mile from their home. EMS evaluated them and reunited them with their family. In the afternoon of July 5th, 2 17-year-old hikers climbed the summit of Buck Mountain near Lake George only to be greeted by a bear. The teens turned tail and sheltered in the mudroom of a nearby hunting camp. Rangers later escorted the scared pair out of the woods. So, adventures in the wild over the 4th of July weekend. On Oneida Lake, 8 people were rescued after a rented pontoon boat capsized Thursday afternoon, deputies said. The Marine Patrol deputies received a report of an overturned pontoon boat near Dunham Island and Frenchman Island in Oswego County, the United County Sheriff's Office said in a news release. Deputies pulled everyone out of the water. No injuries were reported, and they were all wearing life jackets. The pontoon boat had been rented by Brewerton Boatyard. Investigators said the boat was pulling a 36-year-old man on an inflatable tube about 25 to 30 miles an hour when the driver made a sharp turn. The man fell off the tube, which then went underwater and caused the boat to overturn. The owner of Brewerton Boatyard took everyone back to shore after they declined medical treatment, and Towboat USA in Oneida Lake recovered the pontoon boat. The driver was issued a ticket for reckless operation by Greta Stuckey. 3 people were arrested after police said they ambushed a man at a DeWitt motel early on Friday. A 46-year-old man was stabbed in the back 3 times at the Roadway Inn at 6578 Thompson Road, said Lieutenant Jerry Pace, the DeWitt Post police spokesperson. The victim was taken to a hospital and is expected to survive. The investigation determined the man was attacked by 3 suspects who stabbed him with pocket knives in the motel hallway. Philip Cummings of Pembroke, North Carolina, was charged with first-degree gang assault, first-degree assault, and fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon. Lisa Cobb of Syracuse and Brian Gallagher of Watertown were also charged with first-degree gang assault, first-degree assault, and third-degree criminal possession of a weapon. Story by Vince Gasparini. And a flatbed tow truck carrying another truck hit the underside of a bridge on Interstate 81 South in Cicero on Thursday morning. The collision was about 11:36 a.m. and damaged the bridge and the truck on the flatbed, said Trooper Jennifer Giron, a state police spokesperson. Adam Mullings, 34 of Syracuse, was driving the 2002 International Flatbed Tow Truck carrying a 2019 Ford F-550. No injuries were reported. Mullings was issued multiple traffic tickets. Story by Darian Stevenson. And lastly, in crime news, a Pompeii man has been sentenced to 70 months for meth possession. Greta Stuckey. A Pompeii man was sentenced Thursday to nearly 6 years in federal prison for possessing more than a pound of methamphetamine with the intent to sell in central New York, according to federal prosecutors. John Radway, 47, was sentenced to 70 months in prison after previously pleading guilty to possession of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute. Radway is the owner and operator of the Old Stone Store, which is a vintage and antique store in Pompeii, according to court documents. Radway admitted that on October 9, 2025, he possessed about a pound of pure methamphetamine in his Pompeii home and planned to sell the drug to customers in Onondaga County and elsewhere. The seized meth weighed about 1.03 pounds. Police also found drug packing consistency with distribution, around $3,000, and about 50 rounds of pistol and rifle ammunition, according to court documents. Radway was previously convicted of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute a controlled substance. U.S. District Judge Anthony Brindisi also sentenced Radway to 4 years of supervised release after he completes his prison term. The judge ordered $3,135 that was seized from Radway's home forfeited as proceeds from drug trafficking. The case was investigated by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives with assistance from State Police Community Stabilization Unit, and Assistant U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Brown prosecuted this case. From manufacturing headlines, first concrete flows at Micron's giant computer chip factory site. Renee Fox and Rick Moriarty. Micron Technology is beginning to pour concrete for the first computer chip manufacturing facility at what the company says will be the nation's largest semiconductor factory. U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick and other dignitaries joined Micron Chairman, President, and CEO Sanjay Mehrotra to mark the milestone Thursday at White Pine Commerce City in Clay. Just 6 months ago, many of us stood here together in the cold and snow to break ground, he said. And today we're pouring concrete for what would become one of the most advanced semiconductor manufacturing facilities anywhere in the world. After about an hour of speeches under the tent, the crowd moved outside besides 2 Micron-wrapped concrete trucks. Before them was a stencil that read Concrete Progress inside part of a small concrete slab. At about 11:30 a.m., wet concrete poured in. Micron said the pouring of the concrete was significant because it represents a shift from site preparation to construction of the new facility. The president told the crowd that crews on the site had outpaced the current construction schedule by about 3 months. We're moving fast, he said. The executive vice president of global operations for Micron said the company had anticipated beginning to pour the first foundations for the project later this fall or winter. We broke ground, cleared trees, got other site prep work done ahead of schedule, and here we are. It's July and we're pouring concrete, something we thought we would only do later in the year. Micron broke ground in January on the massive project on the northeast corner of Caudine Road and Route 31. To build its massive chip-making complex in central New York, Micron would have to pour 6 times more concrete than it took to build the Pentagon. The foundation alone will require more than 300,000 cubic yards of concrete, which is roughly 4 Empire State Buildings, according to the company president. He said Micron has spent about $1 billion so far on the early construction in Clay, and 2/3 of that work went to New York State companies. In storefront news, Dunkin' Bright will close its store on the south side in August by Elizabeth Duran. After nearly 100 years on Syracuse's south side, Dunkin' Bright Furniture will close that store 9 p.m. August 10th. The closure was announced in April, but the closing date hadn't been set at that time. Founded in 1927, the family-owned business has been a landmark on the South Salina Street for years. It stretches the entire city block, but its days are numbered as it consolidates its operations into a store in Clay. Dunkin' Bright opened the 88,000 square foot store in the former Macy's location at the Great Northern Mall in Clay on April 2022. The store is 6,000 square feet larger than the Syracuse store and has been successful according to Joe Bright, the fourth-generation owner. The Syracuse store has been a staple for people shopping for furniture over the years. Growing up in this store, it's been incredible to see how many families have made Dunkin' Bright part of their lives over the years, Bright had said in a news release. We're grateful for the support of the community and the memories made in this building since 1927. Dunkin' Bright also operates a 72,000 square foot store in the Southtown Plaza in Henrietta near Rochester. A New York-based chain of Mexican restaurants wants to open a second spot in Onondaga County. Mi Rancho Alegre, which operates a restaurant on Lawrence Road in North Syracuse, is proposing to open a restaurant in Bridgeport in the town of Cicero. The North Utica spot is the site of the former Denny's restaurant, and that opened in December 2025. The chain wants to open another restaurant in the spot where the former Bridgeport Diner was located at 7991 Route 31. Plans call for a complete interior and exterior renovation of the existing building, said Mark Marzullo, who chairs the Town of Cicero Planning Board. The proposal also calls for adding a patio. The building is 2,711 square feet, and plans for the interior work have not yet been presented to the Planning Board. The chain operates 5 other restaurants across the state, including one in Rochester. The restaurant's menu includes enchiladas, tacos, burritos, chimichangas, tostadas, and tamales. In weather news, last week was quite the scorcher, but this coming week is going to be warm but not as humid, so a little bit more bearable. But hey, it is July, folks. Coming up for the week, the forecast is mostly sunny across the week with some isolated storms on Wednesday and isolated showers on Thursday, but that precipitation chance is less than 20%. So we're going to see temps in the 80s and 90s, but not quite as humid, so a little bit more bearable. Across the region, Albany, Canton, Geneva, everybody pretty much checked in the 80s except for Lake Placid and Saranac Lake, which were in the 70s. And across the U.S. in Anchorage, we're still cooking in the 60s up in Alaska, so that's typical for summer weather up there. In Vegas, yep, triple digits. Same thing with Palm Springs and Phoenix. That's okay. They can keep that. In Miami, temps in the 90s, and in Washington State, temps also in the 90s. Around the world, in Acapulco, it was only in the 70s. In London, it was also in the 80s, but 70s in Mexico City. Triple digits in Riyadh, and in Tokyo, temps in the 90s, while Vancouver checked in the 60s. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Post-Standard on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. So with that nice weather, let's take a look at what's going to be happening coming up in the week around the area. On Monday night, Lunar Art Events will host a casual art-making event at the Bolano Bean Cafe where no artistic skills or experience are required. Participants will create their own bad art, quote unquote, with all the supplies provided, coffee and breakfast items also available for purchase. That'll be at 105 West Fayette Street in Syracuse from 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday. It is $12 a ticket, $20 for 2 people. On Tuesday, the CNY Jazz Youth Ensemble will perform its annual outdoor summer concert at Lakeland Park in Cazenovia. The selective ensemble of high school and college musicians offers a polished big band sound. It's at Lakeland Park Pavilion, Albany and Foreman Streets in Cazenovia at 7 p.m. on Tuesday and free to attend. On Wednesday, the musical romance Daddy Longlegs, set in the early 1900s, follows Jerusha Abbott, an orphan given the chance to attend college by a mysterious benefactor on the condition she write to him monthly without ever knowing his identity. It'll be playing at the Cortland Repertory Theater, and the show is based on Gene Webster's novel. The Little York Lake Theater and Pavilion at 6799 Little York Lake Road in Preble on Wednesday through July 24th. Evening performances are at 7:30, matinees at 2 p.m. on the 17th, 19th, 21st, and 22nd. No performance on July 20th. Tickets will start at $33.83 and available at etix.com. Dear Evan Hansen is a Tony Award-winning musical following a socially isolated 17-year-old who becomes entangled in lies after tragedy shakes his community. The show explores themes of mental health, belonging, and the consequences of deception. The show contains adult language and themes. Tickets are available at hagartheater.org. At the Hangar Theater at 801 Toganock Boulevard in Ithaca, running through Saturday with performances this week at 7:30 on Tuesday through Friday and 2:30 and 7:30 on Saturday. The cost is $60 for tickets. On Thursday, the Cazenovia Counterpoint presents a screening of the 1923 Harold Lloyd silent comedy classic Safety Last, featuring the iconic scene of Lloyd dangling from a clock face above a city street. Syracuse jazz pianist Michael Passarelli will provide the musical accompaniment, improvising in response to the film and the audience, recreating the experience of how this was originally presented in the same Cazenovia location on May 17th in 1924. Tickets online only at CazenoviaCounterpoint.org. It's at the Catherine Cummings Theater, 22 Lick Lane Street in Cazenovia, 8 p.m. on Thursday. Tickets are $17.59, including fees for reserved seating. The 26th Annual Syracuse Nationals will bring thousands of show vehicles and automotive enthusiasts from around the country to the New York State Fairgrounds next weekend for cars, live entertainment, and family-friendly attractions. The event debuts a new Thursday to Saturday format and introduces new features, including iconic TV and movie vehicles, a kids' Power Wheels racing experience, celebrity appearances, and the Horsepower After Hours Thursday night kickoff party. Children's 12 and under are admitted for free. It's at 581 State Fair Boulevard in Syracuse, running Thursday through Saturday. Horsepower After Hours kickoff party runs from 5 to 9 on Thursday. General admission pricing is not announced, but $5 after 5 p.m. Thursday. Children, again, under 12 are free. The Finger Lakes Grassroots Festival of Music and Dance is an annual multi-day celebration of world music and culture held at the Trumansburg Fairgrounds near Ithaca. The festival features performers from around the globe, including blues legend Taj Mahal, Keith Frank, and Soye Zydeco Band, and the Burns Brothers. Often compared to a New Age Woodstock, the event draws thousands of attendees and is known for its family-friendly atmosphere. It happens at 2150 Trumansburg Road in Trumansburg, runs Thursday through July 19th. Adult 4-day advance tickets are $204, all in. Single-day advance tickets range from $57 to $86. $86, obviously, if you're going to go through longer. Advance tickets are available at grassrootsfest.thundertix.com. A single-day youth ticket is $48 available at the gate, and children 12 or under are free with a parent or guardian. On Friday, Clinton Square's free concert series kicks off with an 80s theme night featuring Pop Rocks, an 80s tribute band, and opening act 13 Curves. The event will feature multiple food trucks, vendors, and a full bar offering wine, beer, cocktails, and more. Proceeds go to 727 Instrumental, which provides underserved students with a free musical instrument of their choice. More information at syrpartyinthesquare.com, 161 Genesee Street in Syracuse, from 5 to 11 on Friday, and it is free to attend. Mississippi-based Americana singer-songwriters Drew Young and Reese Shad bring their touring show Black Roads and Back Stories to the Pink Rock Culture Co-op as part of the Syracuse Art Trail, and special support from Jeffrey Pepper Rogers. Young is known for emotional, direct storytelling and has amassed more than 6.5 million streams across a catalog of 90-plus songs, while Shad's latest release, Porcelain Angel, has drawn praise for pushing the boundaries of musical storytelling. The songwriter showcase runs approximately 2 hours It's at 201 East Jefferson Street in Syracuse at 6:30 on Friday, and it is $15 pre-sale. The Friends of Lipe Art Park will host their annual art revealing showcase. New commissioned arts including art flag, graffiti tee panel murals, and art shark murals. Say that fast 3 times. The event coincides with Syracuse's citywide art trail celebration and features pop-up vendor tents and live music. The murals and flag will remain on display throughout the year, offering the Westside community a lasting source of local pride and creative placemaking. It's at 1003 West Fayette Street in Syracuse, runs from 11 to 4 on Saturday, and it is free to attend. Kids can explore the natural world as an art supply in a hands-on program at the Green Lake State Park. Participants will experiment with natural materials to create their own paints and works of art. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Green Lake State Park, Rolling Hills Playground, 7900 Green Lakes Road in Fayetteville. It runs from 6 to 7 on Saturday, and it is free to attend. You can also experience Green Lake State Park after dark on a guided candlelight hike through Round Lake Shore and through the woods. Participants will make a simple candle lantern before setting out on the trail. Bug spray and layers are recommended. This is at the Green Lake State Park, Reserve Shelter Baseball Field, 7900 Green Lakes Road in Fayette, from 8:30 to 9:30 on Saturday, and is free to attend. On July 19th, you can watch the FIFA World Cup final in a 9 by 16 foot outdoor LED screen at Everson Plaza in downtown Syracuse. This free event brings together soccer fans of all ages to experience the championship match in a lively communal setting. Food, drinks, and refreshments will be available on site. More Syracuse places to watch the final match include Harvey's Garden, Wolf's, and Kitty Hoynes. This happens at Everson Plaza, 401 Harrison Street in Syracuse from 2 to 6 on Saturday, and it is free to attend. The Colorful Souls Fun Run is a family-friendly color run celebrating the life and legacy of Ava Wood, a 14-year-old from Central New York who died in January of 2023. Participants of all ages walk or run a short course through 7 color stations before joining a group color throw finale to paint the sky for Ava. Proceeds benefit the Ava Wood Stupendous Love National Scholarship Fund and Vibrant Emotional Health's mental health and suicide prevention initiatives. Registration is limited to 250 participants. You can register at colorfulsouls.org. It's going to happen at the CNY Family Sports Center at 7201 Jones Road in Syracuse on the 19th. Check-in goes from 1 to 2 p.m., and it is $19 to attend. World-renowned performer Hilby brings his circus skills, wacky comedy, and gravity-defying juggling to Unity Hall's Free Family Fun Fest in Barneveld in Oneida County. The evening also will feature the Utica Zoomobile, face painting, yard games, food and beverages, and a free concert by Savage Friends. It runs rain or shine, moving indoors if necessary. At the Unity Hall, 101 Vanderkemp Avenue in Barneveld on the 19th, with performances at 4 and 6 p.m. The Utica Zoomobile will be there at 4:45, and Savage Friends will perform at 6:30, and it is free to attend. And finally, 311 and Dirty Heads will perform at the Empower Federal Credit Union Amphitheater in Lakeview. Special guests Ocean Alley and Rome will open the show at 5:30 next weekend. 311 is an alternative rock band known for its mix of reggae, hip-hop, and funk on songs like Come Original, Down, All Mixed Up, Beautiful Disaster, and Amber. It's led by singer Nick Nexum, and the group released its 14th album in 2024. Dirty Heads is an alternative rock reggae group which released its 9th album, 7 Seas, on June 12th. The band's songs include Vacation, Lay Me Down, and Oxygen. It happens at 490 Restoration Way in Syracuse, 5:30 p.m. on the 19th, and tickets start at $35. So lots of stuff to do around the area come this following week. If you'd like to plan a little farther ahead, Free Downtown Concert Series will return to Hanover Square come August by Charlie Miller. The free summer concert series, formerly known as Hanover's Thursdays, is returning to its namesake location, but will keep the name it adopted during a temporary move. 3:15 Saturdays will run 5 to 9 on Thursdays, 3:15 Thursdays, makes more sense, will run 5 to 9 on Thursdays in August in Hanover Square in downtown Syracuse, bringing live music, local artists, and vendors back to the city center. The weekly event, which debuted as Hanover Thursdays in 2021, was renamed 3:15 Thursdays last year when construction forced the organizers to relocate to nearby Perseverance Park. Now, with the work in Hanover Square complete and the fountain turned on, the event is returning to its historical downtown gathering place. Organizers say the series attracts more than 5,000 attendees each year. Each Thursday features live music, an art vendor village, food and drinks in the heart of downtown. And the success has also helped to launch a second concert series. So, the schedule. DJ Joey D will open each event at 5, followed by a supporting act at 6, and headliners at 7:30. So, here's your lineup. August 6th, Ruha, Seven Wonders, and the 7:30 tribute band Seven Wonders. They are phenomenal. I have seen them. So, if you love Fleetwood Mac, you want to go see this group on the 6th. On August 13th, Emmanuel Washington will open and Double Tiger will perform. On the 20th, Jesse Elizabeth Band at 6 and Dirty Blanket at 7:30. On the 27th, the R&B Band at 6 and Sophistafunk at 7:30. They are also an amazing band. For more information about performers, vendors, and other things, you can go to 315thursdays.com. And following the popularity of the downtown events, Westcott Thursdays debuted in 2024, and that free series will bring live music to the corner of Westcott and Dell Street every Thursday evening in September. Organizers describe it as carrying on the spirit of Hanover Square up the hill, with local bands, familiar faces, and a little bit more laid-back neighborhood atmosphere. To go a little bit more farther afoot, Upstate Destination column features Forget Bigfoot. Giant Trolls are the Adirondacks' newest residents by Sonny Hernandez. You might expect to see bears, moose, or loons while exploring the Adirondacks. Giant trolls may come as more of a surprise. 6 towering troll sculptures have taken up residence in the Wild Center in Tupper Lake as part of, quote, Trolls Save the Humans, unquote, a new outdoor installation by Danish recycle artist Thomas Dambo. Standing about 20 feet tall, the folklore-inspired trolls are designed to encourage visitors to reconnect with nature and become better stewards of the environment. Each troll has its own personality and purpose. Visitors can explore their creativity with the painting troll, listen to the sounds of nature with the listening troll, or learn about repurposing waste with the treasure troll. The exhibit is included with admission to the Wild Center. Visitors are encouraged to purchase tickets in advance because daily admissions can sell out, and this exhibit will run through October 31st. The award-winning Wild Center is open daily from 10 to 5 with extended hours until 7 p.m. in July and August. The center will also host themed events featuring a different troll each Tuesday on July 14th, 21st, 28th, and August 4th and 8th. Although the traveling exhibit will leave after October, the Wild Center hopes to keep one troll permanently. The center is raising $500,000 through community sponsorships to commission what would become the first permanent Thomas Dambo troll in New York. The adventure extends beyond the museum grounds. Smaller troll sculptures are hidden throughout Tupper Lake and neighboring communities. Visitors can participate in the Adirondack Troll Adventure Passport program by finding at least 6 trolls at local businesses and attractions to unlock exclusive prizes. So if you're into traveling up to Tupper Lake, this will be something that it's only going to be there until Halloween and something wonderful to see. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Post-Standard on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Other things to do this summer is go see a zoo. Zoos have witnessed Olympic fame, rare penguin couples, and more in upstate New York, and we have some of the oldest zoos. Story by Chuck D'Imperio. Upstate New York is blessed to have numerous places to get up close and personal with wild and exotic animals. This list will highlight some of the oldest and most historical public zoos in the region, some of which date back to the 1800s. There are several other places to see and touch the wild kingdom, such as Animal Adventure Park in Harpersville, Hidden Valley Animal Adventures in Varysburg, the Wild Animal Park in Chittenango, the Wild Center in Tupper Lake, Berkshire Paradise in Petersburg, and others, plus a couple of very fine aquariums. But this article focuses on some of our legendary legacy zoos, few of which are among the oldest in the United States. First of all, Buffalo Zoo was established in Buffalo in 1875. One of the great American zoos with over 320 species of animals on exhibit, including an African lion, Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, spotted hyenas, long-tailed chinchillas, vampire bats, and more. The animals are thoughtfully spaced out in their own domains, such as the Reptile Center, the Rhino Yard, and the Giraffe House. Especially fun is the Arctic Edge area, where you walk through an Arctic-like environment and see the zoo's two popular polar bears, Luna and Sakari. It is the third oldest zoo in the United States. And a fun fact, except for Niagara Falls, the Buffalo Zoo is the largest touring attraction in Western New York, welcoming over 400,000 visitors each year. It's located at 300 Parkside Avenue in Buffalo. In Binghamton, the Ross Park Zoo, established in 1875. One of the oldest zoos in the country, this popular southern tier attraction is known as America's fifth zoo. Species here include an Arctic fox, green tree python, snowy owl, red wolf, porcupines, vultures, and alpine goats. Yes, they originated in the Swiss Alps. Fun facts, Binghamton is known as the carousel capital of the world because it has the largest number of antique working carousels. One here at Ross Park Zoo was installed in 1920, and it is magnificent. It features hand-carved wooden figures such as 60 jumping horses, beautifully colored chariots, and some very talented monkeys. There's also believed about only 150 wooden carousels left in the United States, and remarkably, 6 of them are in Binghamton. Rides are free for an admission fee of 1 piece of picked-up litter. Note, check the park's website for hours for the carousel rides. It's been undergoing some renovations. 60 Morgan Road in Binghamton. The Seneca Park Zoo in Rochester was established in 1894. It houses an historical zoo and another Frederick Law Olmsted-designed upstate park. The zoo covers over 20 acres and has events for all ages, including zoo camps for youth, where they go on nature hikes, learn the history of the park animals, and experience hands-on zoo activities. Animals here include seals, Maasai giraffes, white rhinos, and lots more, including lions, tigers, and bears. The Seneca Park Zoo was the first zoo in New York State to house African bush elephants. It is 2222 St. Paul Street in Rochester. The Rosamond Gifford Zoo in Syracuse was established in 1914. It covers almost 50 acres in Syracuse and houses more than 900 species of animals. The zoo has many activities and events for youth, including a number of zoo camps where youth can explore the wildlife, learn about conservation, go on nature hikes, and participate in STEM challenges. You can visit their website to see a sample of the 700 animals present at the zoo, including a snow leopard, North American river otter, two-toed sloth, Andean bear, Asian elephants, and adorable red pandas. New for 2026 is a guy named Grover, a rare 2.5-year-old Amur leopard. Fun facts, the year 2022 brought several milestones for the zoo. For example, a rare same-sex Humboldt penguin couple hatched a chick together, and in October they saw the birth of twin male elephants that weighed a combined total of 457 pounds. And another fun fact, Rosamond Gifford, the zoo's namesake, was a wealthy philanthropist in Syracuse, and at the time she was the largest individual holder of AT&T stock. It's at Burnett Park at one conservation place in Syracuse. In Utica, the Utica Zoo was established in 1914 in the Roscoe Conkling Park. It's a green space designed by Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., and it is more than 100 years old, covering 80 acres and housing 200 animals representing 99 species. The zoo started with just 3 animals, young fallow deer. Among the animals today are Burmese python, spider monkeys, ostriches, Mexican wolf, Australian wallabies, African lions, mountain zebras, and Nigerian dwarf goats. Many kids and adult activities take place here over the year. Stardom wrote, Stardom hit Ronnie the Raccoon was named the mascot for the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid. Fun fact, his image was on all the official Olympic Games displays and represented in everything from pins to toy animals. It is at Rosconcaglen Park, 1 Utica Way in Syracuse. The Zoo New York in Watertown was established in 1920. It is in Thompson Park. The park was designed by John Charles Olmsted, designer of New York City's Central Park and many other parks around the state, and is at one of the highest points in the city. The zoo began when the local bank donated 2 white-tailed deer for exhibition. Zoo New York focuses mainly on animals that are either or once native to the state, such as mountain lions, gold eagles, Roosevelt elk, black bears, and more. The zoo was able to purchase its first animals thanks to funds raised by the Children's Park Zoo Club, which was under the leadership of a 12-year-old boy. Another fun fact, it is the second most visited attraction in the Thousand Islands region behind Bolt Castle. Zoo New York welcomes about 50,000 visitors a year. Located at 1 Thompson Park Drive in Watertown. And last but not least, Forsyth Nature Center in Kingston was established in 1936. This small but well-done center is run by the Kingston City Parks and Recreation Department. You can enjoy the turtle house, domestic and wild birds, large and small animals, and reptiles. They even have a hummingbird garden. The Hudson Valley grounds are lushly landscaped and awesome when in full bloom. Fun fact, this park was not intended to be a zoo, but in 1855, the family of wealthy local judge James Forsyth donated 18 acres to the city of Kingston to be used as a park. And one day, in 1936, a great black bear wandered in. Eventually, he found a home there and the public came to see him. And that was the beginning of the Forsyth Nature Center some 90 years ago, located at 125 Lucas Ave in Kingston. In other outdoor headlines, Lake Erie, known for bass, shipwrecks, and beaches, has been one of America's best voted in the United States by Samantha House. Lake Erie has been crowned the #1 lake in America by USA Today's 10 Best. It is the second time in 2 years the magnificent lake, which touches New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, has been voted the best in the United States. Being crowned best wasn't the only 2026 award Lake Erie earned from 10 Best. Lake Erie has also been named the second best lake for water sports in America. It may be the shallowest of North America's Great Lakes, 10 Best wrote, but Lake Erie has a massive amount of potential when it comes to both tourism and outdoor adventure. Lake Erie is also the warmest of the Great Lakes. The lake is home to an estimated 2,000 shipwrecks and borders on big cities including Buffalo and western New York. The lake has become a fishing destination, particularly for walleye and bass. Last year, Lake Erie was named one of the 10 best bass lakes by Bassmaster magazine. From Toledo to Buffalo, Lake Erie is loaded with historic cities all along the shores, and its large concentration of settlements has fostered an impressive outdoor adventure scene for aquatic explorers, 10 Best wrote. A paradise for fishing in particular, this sprawling water feature is packed full of bass, salmon, trout, and wealth of other marine animals, and as an added bonus, there's no shortage of fascinating shipwrecks for divers to explore. The Empire State stretch of Lake Erie touched much of western New York, spanning from Buffalo to the Chautauqua area. It's dotted with great parks, including Woodlawn Beach State Park and Buffalo Harbor State Park, and historic lighthouses, including Dunkirk Lighthouse and Barcelona Lighthouse. Along with offering fun in and around the water, from swimming to boating, Lake Erie's shoreline boasts wineries with unbeatable views. More information about the region and upcoming events can be found through the Visit Buffalo and Chautauqua County Visitors Bureau. Now, with all this talk about getting out and doing all these things this summer, let's take a moment and think about the kids. For kids, the boring summers can actually be the most memorable, from our opinions column out of the Chicago Tribune. The 4th of July is come and gone, and for many families, summer has reached a sweet spot. The pools are open, the bikes are out, library reading logs are filling up, and school feels far away. Well, at least that's the nostalgic version. Yet for many kids in the city and suburbs, summer doesn't look like that at all. Children of working parents, by necessity, are often enrolled in camps that run the same hours as the school day. We empathize with those parents and exist among their ranks. When your job doesn't come with a summer break, it can become difficult to give your kids the kind of laid-back experience many of us enjoyed in our youths. This is doubly true for single-parent households. But as parents scramble to make it all work, here's something to remember. Kids don't need every hour of summer optimized. Some boredom is one of the healthiest parts of childhood. That belief is made visible in its purest form in the emergence of the 90s summer, an effort to liberate today's tightly scheduled children. What is a 90s summer? Well, for those unfortunate enough not to bask in the nostalgic glow of such memories, a 90s summer means less screen time, plenty of outside play, roaming with your friends, and embracing boredom, that fleeting magic that breeds creativity and the exploration of frontiers not explored by the young mind. Essentially, it's a trend in which parents are giving their kids unstructured summer breaks, replete with the kind of freedom and downtime that they enjoyed in their own childhoods in various dosage. To be sure, a 2-year-old can't do a feral kid summer. She needs kind of handful that needs, they're the kind of handful that needs constant minding. But for elementary and middle school age kids, they can handle a little bit less rigidity. And the advent of devices such as the Gizmo watch, which allows kids and parents to communicate without all the bells and whistles of a smartphone, means that the responsible kids can handle a little more independence while still having the backstop of a way to get in touch with mom, dad, grandparents, or the babysitter. Children grow by having unstructured time. This is a proven fact. This discomfort of boredom often becomes a spark for curiosity, creativity, and independence, and discovering lifelong interests. As Oberlin College psychology professor Nancy Darlin writes, a bored mind is a busy mind. When children aren't constantly entertained, they learn to entertain themselves. They discover what they enjoy, solve problems, and become more independent. The idea isn't throwing them into a complete void, but pairing freedom with opportunity. Give them access to books, art supplies, toys, outdoor spaces, and friends, and let the children figure out what they want to do with them. None of this is an argument against camp. Many families need it, and many children love it. But of course, every family has different circumstances. Not every neighborhood lends itself to the kind of free-range childhood we remember, and safety does have to come first. The point isn't to eliminate structure, it's simply to leave enough space for children to discover what they'll do when no adult has planned the afternoon for them. Even if you can only do it in small doses, finding ways to let kids unplug and slow down this summer, even after a day at the fun park, is good for everyone in the family. Childhood doesn't need to be optimized every waking hour. Some of its greatest gifts arrive disguised as boredom. An afternoon with nothing scheduled, a bike pointed toward a friend's house, a library book that unexpectedly becomes impossible to put down. Those moments rarely show up on the calendar, but they are the ones that children remember decades later. And while some of us have summer vacation time planned into our schedules, some people don't, but we can also think about, let's see what's out there to give us a real adventure in the form of reading a new book. Now, if you don't read, obviously, or if you don't have access to books, the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service has plenty of books that are available for you to listen to, and audible.com is another source where you can get books that are narrated for you. So from the Empire column, Summer Books That Could Make Your Vacation a Real Adventure by Charles Hewitt from the Minnesota Star Tribune. The Pinnacle. Stop me if you've heard or read seen Flight Attendant. Someone wakes up after an all-night bender to discover they're in bed next to a bloody corpse. It is written by Abir Mukherjee. In The Rising Man and his other novels, Mukherjee has shown an ability to find something fresh in familiar situations. There are glimpses of India's movie scene in The Pinnacle, since the victim was a rising Bollywood star, and maybe a touch of The Star is Born, since the man who found her is both her husband and a washed-up Hollywood actor. Fear the Reaper by David Housewright, a former St. Paul, Minnesota detective. Rushmore Mackenzie is out vacationing in North Wisconsin with pals when they narrowly avert disaster at a winery, where a mysterious man with a gun is on the verge of a violent act. But was disaster averted, or has the man become a ticking time bomb? Housewright is an Edgar winner Edgar Award winner who has written 23 Mackenzie mysteries. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Post Standard on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Services. Other titles to look for: The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. Pineapple Street author Jackson returns with the story of a Nepo baby and her wild summer at a New England beach town. Jackson switches between multiple narrators as she tells the story of Caroline, who falls in love with a hippie and isn't sure how to react when another woman in their friend group announces she's pregnant with his baby. Pineapple shows how good Jackson is at creating impossible comic situations and finding something real in them. The Parisian Heist by Joe Piazza. Paris's Musée d'Orsay is one of the world's prettiest art museums, but also where American artist Jessica gets snared in a mystery tied to the work of one of the artists showcased there, Vincent van Gogh. Jessica's present-day acquaintance with the wealthy collectors who buy and possibly steal priceless masterworks leads her to a deep dive into the 19th century life of the great impressionist. She also learns about his sister-in-law, Jo van Gogh, who championed the work of the master who died virtually unknown. An Unreliable Narrator by Araminta Hall. The twist seems to be spelled right there in the title, but it's bound to be more in the latest from the devious writer of One of the Good Guys. There are echoes of The Great Gatsby in the premise, with Hope as Hall's Nick Carraway, an outsider who falls under the spell of wealthy, amoral socialites. In Hope's case, the socialites are a glittering author and his friends, who bring Hope into contact with romance and murder. All seems to be forgotten until a decade later when the author's new book spills the beans on everything bad that Hope did. A Cool Machine by Colson Whitehead. Don't be sad that Whitehead's rollicking Harlem trilogy is ending. Be happy that it exists and will remain endlessly rereadable as long as novels are around. The finale to the two-time Pulitzer-winning prize winners for The Underground Railroad and the Nickel Boys series that included Harlem Shuffle and Crook Manifesto hooks us back up with low-level scammer Ray Carney for the always doomed One Last Job. In an odd case of making life imitating art, Whitehead's website warns that he's currently the unwilling focus of a literary scam. Sunrise by Tia Obrecht. The title refers to a town in Wyoming that has magical brigadoon qualities. The new novel by the author of best-selling The Tiger's Wife is set in multiple time frames, as was The Tiger's Wife, 2024, 2003, and 1902. In each, the characters struggle to get at the truth about what's going on in this western town. Eventually, the stories converge, and Obrecht reveals the ghosts that haunt Sunrise. I Have This Thing for Flowers by Alicia Lee Ying Salwen. Memorist and gardening fan Sashwen, dumped by her fiancé, stages a fake wedding with a pal in order to secure health insurance. It turned out she also secured a new love as the marriage of convenience evolves into one of passion. Essay collections I Have This Thing for Flowers uses the plants in Sashwen's garden as metaphors for relationships in her life, and presumably the weeds as metaphors for her former fiancés. Married with Benefits by Ellie Palmer. The first of two marriage of convenience that becomes a real romance books of the summer in this rom-com. The emphasis on romance and prosperity has a Jane Austen sound to it, but Palmer's book is set firmly in the present and in Wisconsin. It's about a woman who owns a house and a man who owns the land on which the house is sitting. A happy ending would involve both of them owning everything together, so bet money on that's happening in Palmer's follow-up to Anywhere with You. One of the Family by Mark Edwards. Early readers are raving all about the twist in this thriller horror, which a man's introduction to his future in-laws goes about as wrong as it possibly could go. Patrick accompanies his girlfriend Holly to her family's Scottish estate, where they encounter the news that Holly's dad has a much younger fiancé, and an awareness that the fiancé looks just like Holly's late mom, and Holly's siblings plot to get rid of their potential stepmom, violently and permanently. In Sunlight Finds You by Laura Moriarty, the writer of The Chaperone, has crafted another period romance. This time it's set in the 1940s in St. Petersburg, Florida, where teenager Nora falls in love with a wealthy boy whose parents object to the class differences between the two. Sunlight Finds You is narrated by an older, wiser Nora who reflects on the events of her youth and evaluates how they affected the choices that she subsequently made. The Crying Killer by Jessica Laurie. It's the prolific Minneapolis writer's third book of the year, but who's counting? Following the gothic Blackthorn Women and the dystopian The Verdant Cage, a New York Times bestseller, this true crime-inspired thriller about a woman who becomes convinced the serial killer who murdered her sister is now stalking her and her daughter. Mahalia Jackson, Moving Up a Little Higher by Timothy Dyson and Mary D. Williams. It's a collaboration between Tyson, author of The Blood of Emmett Till, and singer Williams, positioning Jackson as not just a gospel great, but as a civil rights pioneer. A Forrest Gump-like presence who was a key figure at many landmark events, from concerts depicted in the Oscar-winning Summer of Soul to the 1963 March on Washington, where she urged Martin Luther King to tell him about the dream, was an icon whose music and activism continues to resonate for more than 5 decades after her death. Crocodiliopolis by John Manuel Arias, a book that combines the goofiness of a telenovela, the brother against brother mythos of the Bible, and the bonkers mayhem of a death of a crocodile. Bring it on. Arias' novel is about a wealthy coffee heir from Costa Rica whose life went in a different direction than his brother's. Now the less successful brother wants to throw his sibling in the river that is famously full of man-eating crocs. Arias, whose Where There Was Fire book was about family drama on a banana plantation, knows this territory well. And lastly, The Disappearers by Marlon James. The former college professor and Booker Prize winner for A Brief History of 7 Killings sets his latest novel in his native Jamaica, where sexual acts between members of the same sex remain illegal today. The novel is set in 1988, when 8 gay men are rehearsing a play in Kingston, and it's an already loaded situation that turns deadly when the men are attacked and one of them dies. And how each man responds to the tragedy differently is the crux of the story. So, weekly bestsellers: the hardcover fiction Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, The Calamity Club by Catherine Stockick, Whistler by Ann Patchett, Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson, Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune, Land by Maggie O'Farrell, and Rocket's Red Glare by Patterson Eversman. Could Have Been Her by Lisa Jewell, and Weddings by Danielle Steele. And then what to look for as you go out to the movie theaters or as you stream across your television this coming week. Pick of the week is Lucky, Reese Witherspoon produced miniseries following con artist Anna Taylor-Joy on the run from the FBI and organized crime after a $1 million heist goes wrong. The cast includes Timothy Olyphant, Annette Bening, Anaju Ellis-Taylor, William Fichtner, and Drew Starkey. On television, the Westies, J.K. Simmons and Titus Welliver head the cast for a new 1980 set crime drama following the titular Irish gang in New York City as they face internal conflicts as well as ongoing power struggles with the better-resourced Italian mafia. It's on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on MGM+. Nation's Dumbests. Celebrities. Think Ice-T, Hilaria Baldwin, Steve-O, Dr. Drew, among others, complete in a reverse challenge. Getting eliminated is good, and staying on through the final leaves the winner crowned the dumbest contestant of the bunch. It's going to run Mondays, 9 p.m. on Fox. Streaming now, Hot Ones Extra Heat, this Netflix exclusive spin-off of the popular YouTube spicy wing eating talk show, utilizes the same format and is also hosted by Sean Evans, but it's going to be tied to major Netflix programs, launches, and sporting events. Will begin streaming on Mondays on Netflix. Ride or Die, Octavia Spencer and Hannah Waddingham, starring an action comedy from Tessa Coates. The pair will play longtime best friends who seem to know everything about each other, though Waddingham's Judith has been hiding one crucial detail: she's an assassin. But the secret gets out after the hit goes wrong, forcing both of them to go on the run. Bill Nighy also stars. It starts streaming on Wednesday on Prime Video. The Hawk, Will Ferrell plays a one-time top-ranked pro golfer who now finds himself decades beyond his career peak but unwilling to give up the fight against the advice of everyone close to him. Molly Shannon, Luke Wilson, whose brother Owen stars in Apple's similar golf comedy Stick, Fortune Feinster, Jimmy Tatro, Dave Hornsby, Caitlin Tarver, and Chris Pennell also star, and it will begin streaming Thursday on Netflix. In home video and on demand, you can find The Drama. A couple must contend with a wedding confession a week before their wedding. A shocking confession a week before their wedding. Fuse, F-U-Z-E, an unexploded bomb from World War II is found at a construction site in present-day London, which provides cover for a daring criminal operation and a crime thriller featuring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Theo James, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and Sam Worthington. I Swear, Robert Aramayo stars in the biopic of Scottish Tourette syndrome advocate John Davidson. And last but not least, Last Hit, a criminal couple embarks on one final job. What could go wrong before intending to walk away from the gang life? So some of those are things that you can explore on your streaming services. And there are some great movies that are out there also to look for. Check your local listings with your local cinemas, but there's some new movies that are out that I think that lots of people will enjoy. So to close out this broadcast, I'm going to actually read from last week's Post Standard, which we didn't get a chance to air. And they actually published a transcript of the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to close it out by reading the prelude to that, which is, I think, most of us had to learn in high school. As we close out this broadcast, again, please let them know if there's something that you like about the broadcast, if there's something that you dislike, and if there's something that I'm not doing that you would like to hear. All right. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, a declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in the General Assembly. When the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separation and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they shall declare the causes which impel them to separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established shall not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over these states. And then it goes on to list the facts of what they believe were their persecutions, and ends with, we, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and authority by the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with firm reliance on the protection of divine protection, We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the weekend edition of the Post Standard. Your reader has been Donna, and thank you for listening.